Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. So, hey guys, hey Stay Wild Child. Thank you for joining us for episode or conversation 37 with Stay Wild Child. And I have one of my beautiful, magical friends, Lauren Reagan, on with me today. And we were supposed to chat in September. Actually, I think it was on my birthday that we were supposed to chat. However, had a little bit of technical difficulty and it wasn't the right time. And today is the perfect time. So I have a studio audience today, which is something that I don't normally have. And then we've got this like chilly weather in Texas. And so it's just a perfect day to have a conversation. And especially with this one, you guys are absolutely going to love her spirit. So thank you, Lauren, for joining me.
Yes, thank you, Nicole, for having me on and working through the technical difficulties with me.
Yes, well, it was all me. So, yeah. It was all me. I'll take full ownership of that. And I've now cleared that and it's gone. I've released my technical difficulties. Okay, so Lauren, Stay Wild Child is all about helping women remember who they are before the world told them who they were supposed to be. You know, we get into lots of patterns of, thinking that being a good wife looks a certain way, being a good employee looks a certain way, being a woman looks a certain way, being a mother looks a certain way. And we have these like belief systems that are passed down a lot of time generationally. And we have these programs that, we hear from society through magazines and advertisements and, all different kinds of things. And so really stepping into who you truly are, wow, it takes a lot of awareness. And so I always like to start people to where you were before you stepped into like your true authentic power. And I'm going to preface this before she starts chatting. Lauren is 100% authentically herself. I got chills all over right now. Okay. She is a fucking blast. She says shit that's like, wow. But it is like so appropriate and it's like so funny but it's so engaging and then it's so like, oh my gosh, and she's a youngin. You're a youngin. I think you're a youngin. but you're an old soul too. So okay, so I'm gonna stop talking because I did ask you a question, but I had to preface that because you're just such a heart delight. So okay. So where were you before you decided to step into your authentic power?
Yeah. I mean, I was just kind of going through life and not really knowing what I wanted to do or who I was and who I wanted to be because there, again, kind of like you're saying, there was all of this pressure on who to be and what do you want to do and what do you want to, have a career in and, it's those typical questions that everyone always asks. It's because they're easy questions, right? It's easy to start a small talk conversation with someone. So for me, anytime somebody asked me that, I thought, well, shit, I don't know what I want to do or who I want to be. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm in my, late teens, like early 20s. And then, so I just did what you were supposed to do, right? Graduate high school, go to college. Okay, what do you want to, have a degree in? I didn't know at the time. I was like, well, maybe I'll do business management. It's an easy degree to get. Okay, we'll kind of go through it. And I was like, this shit is boring. I can't do this. I was in it for like almost 2 years. And I was like, I can't do this. This is not me. And so I had a really candid conversation with my uncle Jeff. And he was like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to help people. And he said, well, he's in hospitality himself. And he said, well, have you thought about hospitality? And I said, well, I couldn't work at a golf course. Like I know nothing about golf. And he said, well, I'm not just saying golf courses. I'm saying hotels, restaurants. So that is a form of helping people. And I thought, okay. So I started interning and working my first job in hotels and my background kind of went from there. And as you can imagine, I'm in a hotel, right? And I'm the front face that everyone sees. So my appearance always had to be, perfect. And I had to be well groomed and speak properly. And I felt like I had to hold myself to a certain standard when really I'm just like a bubbly person. And I don't know, I just say whatever's on my mind. So for me to kind of meet all of these interesting people. It was amazing because I learned so much about myself just in talking with different people. I had high educated, very well-known businessmen and women that I would talk to every day. And I would just check them into their hotel, get them what they needed, whatever it was. And I didn't ever feel lesser than, right? And then you have some people that come in and they're just plain jerks, and you're like, well, today could have been better. My response to that person could have been better.
Sure.
But really, that's kind of what I was doing before I decided to really step in. And then in college, to get really a little bit further, is I was watching Long Island Medium with Teresa Caputo. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I said to one of my friends, oh, how cool would that be to be able to talk to, people on the other side or whatever. Well, be careful what you ask for, right?
Right. Right. Now, if I remember correctly, Lauren, your family is pretty spiritually connected. Is that right? And some do act on their gifts, and some are a little more gun shy about it. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We come from a long line of what they used to call in the olden days, and I mean like 1900s, right? Were like Fae, Faye. So they're
Okay.
magical people.
Magical people. Gotcha. Yeah. And so, okay, so now you would describe yourself as you have several Clara gifts. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I can see, I can hear, and those are my two strongest. And I can feel certain sensations. So when I'm talking to somebody, if they had, that has passed on, or I'm connecting with someone that might be sick or whatever it is, I'll actually start to feel pressures within my body. Like if it's in my lungs or if it's in my stomach, I can kind of start to feel the symptoms, or they will show me, because sometimes when they're trying to explain to you what's happening inside their body, it can be a little
Yes.
painful for the human, right? And I don't want
Right.
pain in my physical body, but I want them to be able to show me and clearly kind of bring forward what they're saying. So if I'm not understanding by the image, that's whenever they show me in my physical body. For example, I was reading somebody, and they had actually been like stabbed, and I got a shooting, very sharp pain in my gut. And I thought, oh my God, what is that? And I said, I just got the strangest sharp pain. And they were like, oh my God. And I said, do you know what that is? I don't know if that doesn't feel like it's an illness or anything. And they said, no, he was stabbed. And I thought, oh, well, that makes sense. And then after that reading, I thought, oh shit, I better really protect myself and just let my guides know, and the spirits, because I'm having to train them too as they're coming through. You don't have to physically show me in the way, right? You don't have to bring the pain. You can show me an image and I'll understand.
Yeah, right. So it's just creating those boundaries. So you use the word they a lot, and then you just said spirits and guides. So talk a little bit about that. Are you do you have certain guides that you work with on a regular basis? Do you have a team, like, some people would call them, like I know one lady who is who speaks to the collective, and she speaks to, I think she calls them the nine. So like she has, like Abraham Hicks, or well, Esther Hicks as Abraham, right? But it's a team versus just a one person, but she calls it Abraham. So do you have like a group that you work with on a continual basis?
I do.
Okay.
And some of them are ever changing, right? So guides, and what I try to explain to other people as well that are new into this and they're trying to kind of understand what's going on,
Yeah.
is that our guides can change as we need them to, right? So as we progress, as we raise our vibration, we're accessing another um, skill set, right? Where our guides come in and they say, okay, well, you no longer need, Archangel Michael. He's always present for you, but you no longer need him right now for this second part of your journey, or, this part of your journey. And so for me, I always ask, and before I start my readings, for the highest and greatest good of whom I'm reading, and for the messages to be very clear for me, to give them the amount of healing that they need. So based on that, when I say they, I do have a lot of team, you know, a lot of different people that come through, but also when I say they, I'm specifically talking about the communication between the once person who was on this earth that was human and the guides that were not ever human, right?
Right.
So a combination of them talking to me. And then my guides, of course, I always call on Uriel because he deals with, crossing souls over and helping those healing wounds that need to be healed. And also Michael, just for the extra protection that we need to make the client whom I'm reading feel extra safe and secure in the space that they are in, because it is nothing but love and compassion for that person while I'm doing a reading.
Sure. So I know that you, I know that you have a wide variety of offerings. However, I know that when you and I first met and started connecting, you were really into helping souls cross over. So take me through that. Like, what does that look like? Does somebody call you and say, "Hey, I think that," like, is it like, okay, I'm just going to be honest. Like, this is exactly where my brain goes. Okay. So it goes to like the movie Ghost, right? Where Patrick Swayze was like caught here, right? And so, and he's talking to, yeah, so that's where my mind, that's where my mind goes. And so, yeah. So talk to me a little bit about how does that work? Like, does a family member contact you, or how does that happen?
Yeah, so really it can be anything. So I'm also a visionary. So what that means and what I've understood that to mean is when somebody is explaining something to me, we can be sitting here, we're talking about, a home that you had or have that you want to clear up, and say it's in California or Oregon or whatever. I can actually, because I'm going there because you're concerned about just clearing the home or whatever, visually, I will walk the house with my third eye. It like opens and I'll start describing the home to you to make sure that I have the right home. And I will start doing clearing on the space, as well as any individuals, and just kind of crossing the ones over that I do see that are presently there. They're not, they couldn't be like Patrick Swayze and Ghost. He was really trying to, to tell her, hey, watch out, you're going to, be murdered or whatever. They're trying to kill you,
Right.
I think is what was happening.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, in that instance, it would be a little bit different because I've never actually had to deliver that type of message to somebody, but I always have said, like, if there is something that I can prevent, if it's going to be someone's death and it is supposed to be prevented, please, like, move me to say something to whomever it is. I don't care if we're at a restaurant, we're in a movie theater, I'm in the mall. If there is something like that, then yes, I want to be able to help that person and let them know. But really crossing souls over. So if you were a client of mine and coming to see me because you felt not yourself, and the only way I can explain that really is, as humans, we think that it's normal to have these constant thoughts in our heads of, oh gosh, I'm unworthy. Oh gosh, what should I be doing today? I'm not doing this, so I must not be doing what I'm supposed to. God, I feel really lazy today. You're being told these negative thoughts, right? Yes, some of them are our own, right? But also some of them could be attachments that you have from souls that were basically lied to and told that they have to harass you or cause you some sort of pain or turmoil, right? Those are the ones that I just immediately cut all ties with off of your energetic field. And then
Right.
I come over into the light. So when I do that, my process is, just kind of explaining to that soul that's attached, like, hey, I can see you, number one, because they often don't get seen, right?
Oh,
And right. And that's ultimately their motive. They don't want to be seen. They only want to be heard by the one person that they're trying to torment, right? It can manifest in different ways. It could be saying, you're married, and it could be, oh my God, you have all these thoughts of, your husband is cheating on you, or your husband is, doing this or doing that. And it's like, he would never do that. That that's not in him to do that. But these are the random thoughts that you're getting, and you're going like, And then all of a sudden you catch yourself interacting with it. Well, what if he is? What does that mean about me? Right? And then it's this trigger effect. So to remove a soul like that and give them a fresh start is how I kind of transition them over, because they were lied to be tormentors. None of us want to be tormenting somebody once we cross over, but it's we've gotten lost and then somebody comes by and says, "Hey, I got a job for you." Well, that job isn't so great. So I give them an opportunity to speak with Archangel Michael and Uriel. And they get to kind of get a little bit of an education on what the other side is like, what it's like in the light. And then I just send them on their way. So I hope that answered your question.
It is. So is it it is. So I have gone through meditations and I have cut cords myself. Now I would say that the cords that I have normally cut, I felt were people that I knew, right?
Mhm.
Like a relative or something that, you've had a lesson through. And so that cord is attached, and so I've gone through that process of cutting cords myself. So you're saying that it's actually like spirits that are here that haven't been able to cross over, that can be attached as well.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a lot. I mean, take for example what's going on in today's world. Okay. So I just recently went to Tulum. Tulum, Mexico, the energy is like a freaking vortex. When you're out there, man, when I was out there, I just wanted to veg. I wanted to just lay on the beach and be the laziest person on the planet. Maybe have an adult beverage, maybe not. Like, I just wanted to chill because I was loving the vibe. And I even had some of my friends who were on that trip too, and they were like, "God, I'm a real morning person, and out here I can't be." And I'm like, it's because the energy is so strong that it just wants you to like go with the flow. But here we have all of this anger, this frustration. I mean, when you're driving on the road, it's almost like, God, is that car going to hit me? No, they're just in a hurry.
Yeah.
So this frustration, right? And think about if you go to the grocery store, you may be having the best day ever. You go to the grocery store, forgot to protect yourself energetically, and you walk out and you come home and then you start chewing the shit out of your spouse because they didn't help you bring in the groceries, or they put that up wrong, or whatever it was. That
Right.
is your energy field being impacted by all of this external things that are out there. And when your vibration gets low like that, right? Because you were like upset, and say you like forgot something at the store and you go back. Well, now you've lowered your vibration because you've just chewed somebody out and you're upset and you're not feeling at your highest. And you go into that grocery store, and then one of those, spirits that's like, I don't really know where to go. And I was told to find a job. Well, you're my job now, because now
Ah,
I've attached onto you because you had a low vibration and I'm also a low vibration. And so we're just going to sync up. And then you have an attachment. It could be also from a trauma in your childhood. Um, say, I mean, trauma can really be anything to anyone, right? There's not
right.
necessarily an exact definition, but I'm
Right.
going to a very traumatic one. Say that you had a sexual experience when you were too young, and it resulted in something that innately you don't even realize is an attachment, right?
Mm, mhm.
So, I mean, even something like that. So, can you imagine being like, I don't know, I'm going to say like 14, getting something, an attachment, and then
Yeah.
going through these traumatic relationships just to try to figure out what the hell's been happening, and you realize that it's been an attachment this whole time?
Wow.
So, it's crazy how stuff like that happens, but that's
Right.
kind of how I've noticed within my clients, within this, the group that I clear traumas with. That's kind of how they start realizing, oh, my mom, for example, she had like three big ones. I think she ended up having 15, but she had three major trauma attachments. And so with those, that's, what ends up happening. And what I mean by that is when you have a trauma and you have an attachment, that attachment's related, that being, that entity is related to that trauma. So if it's sexual abuse, then you have a trauma that brings more of that
Mm,
thought of, oh, I'm not worthy, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that, oh, I should be like this, I should behave like that. That's kind of, you know what that attachment plays in. So when you remove that, it does take a little bit of training, retraining your brain, right? Because they've put that record in there. But that's something you can also clear too, is that record.
Right.
So it's all energy. But
Very interesting, because especially you bringing up, the sex at a young age, because I had sex at a young age, and it was definitely low vibrational, and then some trauma resulted after that. I had a child a little bit later on, and she passed away of SIDS, and then the relationships after that were trying to fill that unworthiness piece, right? And so feel like I've gone through and cleared that, but really interesting how you just said that. Yeah. Wow. I related to you when you said that. Yeah. So usually when I have people on Conversations with Stay Wild Child, a lot of times that message is for me. So yeah, like when we had, I don't know if we had that healing event. Oh, it was, I don't know, in August or something. Dana was on, and Vivian was on, and my friend Liz was on, and she's actually part of my studio audience today. And Liz was on, and she was walking everyone through a Reiki scan. And she got to my right hip. Well, she goes, the right hip. Okay, I feel like I need to focus on the right hip. And I was like, oh, that was mine. So it's just been interesting, the messages that have kind of come through. But I feel like I have cleared those. However, that was really interesting that you just brought that up, because it just, made me very aware of that. I didn't even think about it. I mean, I know that I know that my relationships, some of them have been questionable. And so,
Good for you for clearing. Good for you for clearing that and acknowledging. That's part of the healing for that, is just acknowledging. Yeah. So,
right. There was something else that you said to me at some point. I think it was on our retreat that we went to in Arkansas. You said, because we were talking about judgment. I can't even remember who all it was. It was me and you, maybe Lindley or someone. We were talking about judgment, and I don't remember exactly your words at that moment, but about a month later, something percolated for that time frame, and then came back up and said, just because I'm aware of it doesn't mean that I'm placing judgment on it. And so I let go of the awareness of the judgment, and I just realized I'm aware. It's just an observation. There's no judgment around it. So I was judging my judginess, if you can even say that. But yeah, right. But you had said something. Do you even remember what you said?
I think I actually made a post about it because I thought, wow, but I kind of remember because I did. Yeah, I do go to this all the time. We are hard on ourselves, more hard than any person, and even any individual person can ever be, right? We're so critical of ourselves. So when we see something in someone else that we go, oh, like, I don't really like that about you. So part of that is you acknowledging, like, yeah, well, I don't like that about them. Great. But what is it? Is it something about me? No. Okay, great. I think judgment, you're allowed to have judgment. It's just you deciding. That's what it was, I think. It's you deciding how you feel about a certain situation. It's not good or bad. Now, we've made it good or bad, right? Because judgment, think about the word itself. It's like, got this nasty, like, yeah, I'm judging you. Or, I have a friend that she loved her to pieces. She's the sweetest person on the planet. Like, seriously, one of the kindest, most generous people that I know. And she always says, oh, don't judge me. And so the last time we were at dinner, I just said, you realize that nobody judges you, but you're judging yourself, because you say, oh, no judgment on this. And it's not even something that's like bad or that somebody would judge, right? But it's us judging ourselves. And when we do it, it's, like Andrea said, it's my favorite analogy, and I use it now with all of my clients because I think, how great is that, and how simple too, right?
Yeah.
It's that chocolate milk. You set that chocolate milk outside and it got all curdled and gross. And every time we think something bad about ourselves or we judge ourselves for feeling a certain way, it's like drinking that nasty, rotten, gross milk. And instead, don't you want that yummy, yummy chocolate milk from the refrigerator? Like,
Right. Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Why don't I feed
It's
myself
such,
more of that?
such a fantastic visual. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're either drinking cold, fresh chocolate milk or you're drinking curdled, warm. Ugh. Yeah, we know what that is. Everybody knows what spoiled milks is like. Yes, absolutely. So one of my other favorite moments with you was I had just started the intuitive happy hour, and I so I feel so. How old are you, Lauren?
29.
29. Oh, I just love it that you got all this at your age. I mean, even earlier than that. Oh, so delicious. And I think it's happening more and more, but really mine, all of my stuff kind of started in my 40s because I'm 49.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could totally be your mom. How weird is that? So, anyhow, squirrel. So yeah, so we were in that intuitive happy hour, and I was newer to that. And actually, I mean, seeing Andrea was the first time that I had my cards read. And honestly, I was like a deer in the headlights when she read my cards for the first time. And she told me a lot of things. And it was a full year before I went back to see her. And she's like, "Oh, I remember you." And I said, "Yeah, I just wanted to come and validate like a lot of the things that you said. I haven't seen you for a year, but let me just validate a lot of the stuff that you read, right?" And so I just thought it was really interesting. And so so then, I think that maybe she mentioned the intuitive happy hour or something. And so I decided to come. And, so you and I were in there a couple of times together at the beginning. And then a girl came, and I don't think that she comes very often, but I remember, I think it was her dad that had passed. He'd crossed over, and he showed himself in that intuitive happy hour. And you were really nervous about like speaking up at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were nervous about speaking up at that time, and you kept saying it was her grandfather. That's what you were saying. You were saying it's your grandfather, it's your grandfather. But she called him Papa. I think she was Hispanic or something, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. So he was saying it papa, like in Spanish. And
Yeah,
Andrea, I said it's your grandfather because I call my grandfather, who's no longer here, Papa. And
me
so
too.
that's how I was
Yeah.
seeing it, but I was seeing the the I forget what you call it, the line above the A. And Andrea said, no, say it how you were seeing it. So I said, papa, like, because that's how you would say it in Spanish, papa, like my papa. And so when I said that, she said, oh, that's my dad.
Yeah, and you described, and she was new, like she was new to that happy hour. So you know what, we had probably been there together for about 6 months, because I remember she was kind of like a deer in headlights in that particular, because it was all brand new to her. She was like, okay, what's everybody do? What's everybody doing? And I remember you delivering that message to her, and you described you had a pocket watch, and you described it so intricately, I just remember her face. It was just such a warm, beautiful message for her. And it was so much love wrapped around it. And I left and I told, a handful of people that story. And I was like, I loved that because you kind of had to nudge yourself a little bit to step into that, because I think you were in resistance of sharing that message. But now that I've watched you, I mean, I've kind of watched you, step out of your resistance and just kind of talk more, right? And it's been beautiful to watch, because it was a gift for not only for her, that she was in the right place and she was doing the right things. And he was, so proud of her. She needed to hear that
Yeah.
at that time. but then it was also a gift for you because it was so much validation behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a healer and as a reader, you don't get a lot of validation or feedback from your clients, right? You can give them what you're receiving, and ultimately that's it. And I think early on for me, well, one of the reasons I was kind of reserved was because that gentleman showed up pretty early in the session, in our group, and I was holding my tongue because I thought, oh God, I'm not going to say this to some random person. Like, she was brand new; it was her first
Right.
class, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh hell no, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And Spirit was like, you're doing this, and I was like, oh. And so then I had to say, I have a message for you, but do you want me to say it in front of everyone? Or because sometimes it is extremely emotional for that person. It takes them, it could be someone that they just didn't even really care to hear from, and it sparks something within them that just releases all that emotion, all that stuff that we suppress, right? And so I was like, God, this is really, if it was my grandfather, I would be like, oh my God, tell me everything. I want to know everything he's saying. And although I do hear my grandfather all the time, he's great. He's my number one cheerleader, but he, so I just thought, oh God, do I say this to her? And she was like, yes, please. And I think the moment for me when I could feel the love from him to her, right? Which I do in all of my readings. I always feel the love and the appreciation and the compassion that the spirit side of that human or that soul has for the people that are still here, right? And the love that they shared while they were here. And for me, my validation was in the fact that she said, after I mentioned the pocket watch, and I said, oh God, the detail on it is like crazy. I remember this so vividly, which is random because I normally don't remember my readings. And she said, yeah, it's crazy. I went home in the next class. I think she said, I went home and told my husband and my sister, and I had never told anyone that I had that pocket watch. And I thought that was my validation, knowing that I was able to give her evidence of it being him and pulling forward that he knew that she had it. And that's all that really mattered, because it was their bond. It wasn't anyone else's.
Yeah.
And that for me is all that I ask for in any of my readings. Is I want them to know that you are connecting with that soul and that they are still around and the love is still there.
So. Yeah. Oh, that brought tears to my eyes.
I know, me too. I'm a little shaky.
Yeah. It was it was really a beautiful moment. It's one of my favorite moments that we've had in our intuitive happy hours. Just I loved watching you give her that gift, and your voice was shaking when you gave it to her, and that was when you used to cry every time you delivered a message. And you've kind of stepped past that a little bit, but yeah, you really are. What a beautiful example you are of a young woman. I'm going to still call you a young woman. I know that you feel like you're probably a little older now, but yeah, you're a young woman. And you're really just so truly owning who you authentically are. And it's such a great example, because, there's so much pressure for kids to go in certain directions and be certain people, and you just allow your light to shine. So really lighting it up for, that generation who's coming up, who, will more than likely, start getting married and having children. But it gives them this like permission, like you don't have to, sink into this particular little bubble. You can have it all.
Yeah. And, I think it's funny because when I first realized that I had this gift and I started, being mentored by a couple of different people, I thought, oh God, I'm a healer now. I have to be happy all the time. Like that's what that means. Right. And so I still catch myself doing it, but I catch it and I'm freaking human. Like, yeah, I'm going to be bitchy some days. Yeah, I'm going to be happy some days. Like, it's part of me. It's part of my aspect. an aspect of myself that, yes, sometimes I like and sometimes I don't, you know? And I think that that's what a lot of people miss is like, listen, we can have a bunch of different emotions. We can have a reaction for everything if we wanted, but being in your highest self and remembering, number one, who you are, right? But number two, like, just because I have the label healer doesn't mean that I'm not human and I don't flip somebody off because they made me mad.
Right. Yes.
No, I didn't like my reaction of flipping them off. Like, that was really mean. And no, I don't like that. But
You
I'm
know,
not,
you already know.
I'm
Right.
going to forgive myself for going like, God, that was a weak moment. I can do better next time though. That's what I always remember is I can do better next time. And if that means that I need to go back and apologize to them because say they were a friend and I offended them by being extremely direct, as everyone who knows me knows that I am very, very direct. There is
Yes,
no
you
fluff. You know, if that means going back and apologizing to them and kind of explaining where my headspace was, I do that. You know, if it makes me feel better, it's not really for them. It is for them. I don't mean to sound like that sounded like I was being, well, I just called you fat, but I don't really mean it, or something like that. But it's not about that. It's about forgiving myself for going, God, I was so mean to you. And I yelled at you for no reason. And that was really nothing to do with them. It was everything to do with me, right? When we can acknowledge that, I think that's powerful. When you acknowledge that your reaction has nothing to do with that person, but everything to do with something that whatever happened triggered within you, that's a big thing.
I'm going to get you the shirt. I have the shirt. I'm mostly peace, love, and light, and a little go fuck yourself.
I do need it because that is my favorite word anyways.
It's mine too. It's a good word. It could be like, fuck yeah.
And cussing is proven to be like a stress reliever, I think, too, by scientists, whatever. I mean, I just enjoy it. I speak freely and I feel like, yes, sometimes I can filter myself, but why? Because the people who are around me appreciate me and they know and they understand like, oh, that's just Lauren, that's part of who she is.
Totally.
So.
Yes. So Lauren, you have stepped into a lot of your clairs. And did I say that right? Is it clairs or clairets?
Clairs is what I call it, but I don't know the proper term.
Talk about, there's my guest. Talk a little bit. My dad, by the way, my dad painted that door for me.
It's so funny. I have been staring at the door. I keep looking over at it going like, oh my God, I love it. It looks so good because it wasn't painted before.
No, it wasn't. So my dad did that for me for my birthday. We're still waiting on the door handle, but he did such a beautiful job.
It's awesome. It really is.
Lovely, lovely gift that he gave me. So because you are gifted in those arenas, what do you feel like you have done or maybe you have let go of that has allowed you to expand your consciousness?
Yeah. I definitely have let go of a lot of fear growing up. We were religious, as I find to be the truth for a lot of healers. They come up from a very religious background, right? So letting go of the fear that I'm not going to be accepted by people.
Yeah.
Or that, just a fear of the religion, what I grew up in, it was pretty harsh. It was kind of like, you can only believe this way. And which I think may be the case for a lot of religions, but it was just, this is the devil and, all that kind of crap. So, what I think is I've released a lot of that fear and kind of moved on. And, as I've grown and as I've learned, the more I learn, I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge that I still don't know. And I'm learning every day, and I'm learning through conversations like you and I are having. I'm learning, in my sessions with clients, how spirit is communicating different things to me. Talking with my mom, I talk to my mom probably every single day for like, I don't know, anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. Sometimes her phone dies. I mean, it's just, we talk. And so a lot of stuff comes up and so I grow through that. And if I don't know something, then I say, okay, I consult with spirit all the time. I just say, tell me, what I should know, tell me what I'm not hearing. And it was funny because before this call, I thought, oh God, I was talking to myself in my mirror because I do that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pumping myself up, right?
Sure.
I'm like talking about all this stuff that I could, talk about with you. And I got like, okay, well, and I started laughing, and I was like, God, I'm talking about everything. I'm going to run out of everything to say. I'm talking right now. I'm saying everything I want, and none of it had relevance. None of it was what this conversation was. But
Really?
and my spirit guides are going, okay. I said, God, I'm gonna just chat everything out because I'm a little nervous before before I get on the call there. I'm not gonna have anything to say. And they laughed and they said, you will. And then I pulled a card. I said, just tell me one thing that I need to know and focus on, during this call. And I pulled the card, and it was listen. And I thought, and she's wearing like this, she's in this yellow, cape thing or whatever. And she has this big amethyst on her chest, which is, to me, intuition. Amethyst is the number one crown opener for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
How funny is it that, and actually it kind of resembled the amethyst that you gave me.
I was actually thinking, didn't I give you an amethyst? Yeah.
So it resembled that. And those were the first two things that I got, was just listen to what they're saying, because they were speaking so clearly to me. And, I learn new things every time I talk with Andrea, and how she teaches me my language, like how to speak. Because I say sometimes in my reading, I've said like, oh, well, I think. And she's like, stop saying I think. You're not thinking. You're literally getting the information, but you're using the word I think because you're so used to just being in a normal conversation with somebody and interpreting spirit and just saying, well, I think, because the person on the other side may not receive it as like, well, what I'm getting is, but it's a simple switch over, because it is me interpreting, it's not me thinking. When spirit takes over and they give messages, it has nothing to do with me. It's not like something takes over my body and my head spins around 3 times or anything, but like, I'm getting this information as a thought, and that's how I'm conveying my message. And my team is funny, man. I'm grateful. Oh my God, yeah. The more I've listened to them, they will start cracking jokes with me, and I catch myself laughing in public, going like, oh shit. Like, people think I might have schizophrenia or something, because I'm literally like, haha, that was funny. And I'm not talking to anyone. I don't have ear pods in. Like, I'm just, so I think that's hilarious. But I mean, I just learn all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just a constant. Well, first of all, one of the things that you mentioned is letting go, because, you were in your head this morning, right? Trying to figure out how the conversation needed to go. So it's letting go. And I've had the most powerful moments when I've let go, and then all of a sudden the message is received. And so I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but I have a feeling that like you're just kind of stepping in and letting go, and then it just starts coming through.
Yeah. Yeah. When I try to control a reading or make it make sense,
Right.
they stop feeding me information. They're like, quit. This is not about you. They literally will shut the reading off and go, you're too human right now. Fix it. And then we'll come back. And I'm like, shit. So then I have to sit there and think, well, okay, how do I get out of this? So it takes me a minute sometimes, because I want to help people so bad. And if I let go, then I'm able to help them how I want to help them, because it's really not me. It's
Right.
all of what's needed for their highest and greatest good. And the only thing I can do for them is convey a message. And it's funny, because when you were talking about the reading in the circle, there's been one other time that happened in front of a group of people, and I had never met this man, and his dad and his uncle decided that they were going to come through. And I was at an Advocare event, funny enough.
Oh.
I was at an Advocare event, and I'm sitting in a hotel room. We had been done with the, session that they did at the AT&T Center. And I literally had met this guy, maybe said 2 words to him, like, hi, my name's Lauren. That's it. And all of a sudden I was telling him situations, and it was just very strange. And I had people who were extreme skeptics in the room. And after I did that, and like the kid was like, he probably, I don't know, I think I was 23 or 24 at the time. And the kid was probably 28, 29. And he owned his own trucking company. And after I gave him that reading, my friend's dad, I'll never forget this. He was like, he was such a skeptic. And he looked at me and he goes, I don't know what that was, but that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I was just like, it brought so much like joy, and it was so good, because that for me was like, that is what you don't get unless you experience it or you see it happen for somebody else. That is the ultimate love and compassion for that person, but also being able to see that like spirit is real and they're always here and they're guiding everything we do, you know? And so that for me was, it was incredible, because that was my first, you know, time ever reading in front of a group of people. And of course, some of them were really religious Christians. And I just thought, oh God, you know,
Right.
I did all this in front of these people. And so immediately I went into defense mode, going like, oh no, because one of the guys who was saying a very nice thing about me was, he was like, oh, I know what's happening. And he was going to try to explain it. And before he even started, because I thought he was going to go like, oh, like this is the devil, you know, because that was my background, right? I just was like trying to defend. And he goes, okay, are you going to stop talking so I can finish saying? And I was like, okay. And he was like, this reminds me of, you know, a guy that we know at our church. And I thought, oh, so there's a guy at their church, and I don't know what church they go to or anything, but he was like, he does his intuition. And at the time I was like, I don't even know what I just did, but okay. And he was like, he actually told Malia, he was like, you know, he told Malia that she prays in her car all the time. And I thought, oh my God. So he is saying like, he can tell that she talks to God all the time in her car and talks to herself and prays for people. And that was one of the things for me, that I was like, you know, okay, so he does see the good in it. He's not seeing it as this bad thing, right? And so that took me a little bit of time to break, for doing readings for people.
It's the label that we put on it, because we've been conditioned to think that that's what anyone who's in that arena will think. And I can totally validate you on that, because this is such a silly thing, but I talked about Goop, which was a Gwyneth Paltrow series on Netflix, and she talks about vaginas. She talks about, you know, speaking to spirits. She talks about mushrooms, a handful of things, right?
Oh yeah.
I put it on my personal page, instead of in my Stay Wild Child group where my little safety net is. I put it on my personal page, and I just did it. And I'm like, this may offend some people, but you know, putting it on there anyhow. Yeah. Maybe 3 months later, I was at my mom's, and my mom said, I watched that Goop series. I go, oh, you did? And she said, I did. And I'm like, oh, what do you think? She goes, well, I really liked it. I was a little uncomfortable on the vaginas, but I liked it. And I'm like, I let go of, you know, I mean, it's not even that big a deal. It's a Netflix series. It doesn't even have anything to do with me. But, you know, I put it out there, and like my mom was all, you know, like somebody who I would think oh, we should watch that, you know, maybe, you know, but that's my own shit in my own head. It's not my mom's head. Yeah, go ahead.
It has everything to do with you, because that simple thing, no matter what it had on it, your initial thought was, oh my God, this is such cool information. Let me share it. And then you go, oh my God, but the scene on vaginas. Oh my God, somebody is going to say something negative about sex. Oh my God. And then your mind goes there. But then your mom, who would have probably been like, oh God, you know, I don't know about God, I skipped over that one, you know, because it was a tough one to watch. I mean, honestly, I'm a woman, and I don't think I ever, you know, had looked at my vagina in a mirror, and I just thought, that's an interesting thing. You know, it was right.
Yeah.
And it did make me uncomfortable. And I had to think, well, why did it make me uncomfortable? It's a normal thing. But because we are women and we were conditioned to, hey, you know, certain ways of thinking, right?
Yes.
You know, it's like I had to break that lie for myself. And so I just thought it was just interesting. The whole thing was phenomenal. I loved the Goop series. I recommend everyone to watch it. But also, I mean, going back with that for me too, I mean, I created a whole Instagram and stuff, Low and Soul or whatever. And I posted a few things on it because it was my safety net. I could post there and not be judged, you know, by my friends and family. And even now, sometimes when I go to post something on my Facebook, I think, oh God, what kind of response am I going to get? And I've gotten nothing but positive things. In fact, I've seen some shifts in some people that I didn't think were capable of shifting. And I know that sounds
correct, but correct. You've given them the freedom because you exhibited freedom in your life. You know what you just helped me clear?
What?
My group is about to go public.
Awesome.
I mean, there's no reason to make it private.
No. And you know what? Another important thing, I'm just going to bring this up because I've seen it happen all over social media, and Andrea comments on it all the time, and I catch myself. I see people post things all the time on social, and then somebody will comment something mean, and then it like sparks a fire. It like lights somebody else up, and then it's like bing, 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 bing,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not my job. If you comment something negative on my page, that has everything to do with you and not a damn thing to do with me.
Correct.
And if you are going to comment on my page something ugly or something nasty, then that's something that you need to figure out, because that's a case of bullshit that I'm not going to unload. That's for you. It says more about them than it does about me. And I love most people, you know, I may not like you all the time, but I do, like, you know, sometimes I think, oh, you know, that's a little, I don't know if I would have posted that, you know, but again, that's like, I wouldn't have posted that because that's not me.
Not right.
So if people just take a step back and, you know, say, God, I can see why Nicole would post that, or, oh, I can see why Lauren would post that, you know, but I would never post that. Well, great. I'm glad that you could acknowledge that.
Yeah. I tell you, during this 2020, I have stepped into a lot of compassion and a lot of unconditional love when I have said something and it triggered something in someone, and they've come back with a pretty aggressive stance. And it's not usually on my personal, it's usually on, like, if I've commented on a friend something and they come back with something very aggressive, and it doesn't, like, you hateful bitch, you know, whatever, you know, whatever said, you hateful bitch or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I got no charge there. Oh. And so Andrea is actually the one. So I asked her, I said, so am I exhibiting detachment? She goes, no, honey, that's unconditional love. And I go, oh, bravo. I'm like, I've reached it. Yeah.
I had that same thing because, you know, I used to cry for all my clients, right? Because I'm taking their pain on, and I want them to know, like, I want to heal it. And yeah, sometimes when the emotion is like overwhelming, it's because that person can't process it. And so Spirit's like, okay, you're going to help them today. You're going to cry during your reading, or you're going to cry standing next to them at the funeral because they're not crying because they're trying to be strong, and you're sitting next to them. Well, we know you, and we know you'll do it for them. You know, it's like that kind of thing. So it's like, Jesus Christ. When I go to a funeral, I'm like, oh, I hate going to funerals. I absolutely hate it. It's not because of the dead people. I talk to them all the time. What I hate is having to feel all that pain that no one is letting go of, right? Yeah. All the grief that they're not processing. Oh, Lord.
They want to hold on to it all. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's great. I went off, I think, but there was, you said something and I was just like, yes. The unconditional love part.
Yeah, unconditional love. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know, crying for other people. And, I've had several healers tell me, oh, well, that will stop. You know, you just got to practice it a little bit more, but it'll stop. And I'm like, God, when? Cause I just feel like I can't stop crying. You know, I'm like talking to them and I'm crying. It's great. Yeah. And, I said to Andrea, I said, God, it's so weird. I just feel like my give a shit meter just like flew off and it's like no longer there. Cause I can read people and talk like I'm talking right now. And normally that would have never happened. And she goes, no, honey, it's not that your, give a shit meter is gone. She goes, nothing's wrong with you. Like, it's unconditional love. You're seeing that person for exactly who they are and knowing your boundary, my boundary, and knowing that it is not my pain to take on. It is not me that has to feel or has to help them. I can only give them the tools that I've learned, which ultimately is all I want to do in my readings, is give people the tools that they can heal themselves, and I will help heal them too. So, working together. But I had a really emotional moment with Andrea. Like, if I can just help one person, just one person heal one thing, whether that's giving them the tools or what, then I've done everything that I can do, because hopefully they will turn around and share it with others too,
Exactly. So. That is what it, truly is what it's all about. So we had a witchy flash mob this weekend. It was Saturday night. So some of my favorite healers were staying at my house. One's from Seattle, one's from South Carolina, and one's from Florida. So they all came in to do the witchy flash mob. And we danced and it was fabulous. We got an encore. They wanted us to encore. I mean, it was really good. We were all just feeling fabulous. And then we went over to watch a Stevie Nicks tribute right after. Yeah. And went over to watch the Stevie Nicks tribute, and we walked in and we left our costumes on. And we walked in, and I'm telling you, the women in that place lit up. And they were like, and they were coming at us. Marley, go. He's been trying to get by a couple times. I usually keep my dogs out of the room, but today I let him in. So, so the women were all just like, shh, and they're like, we want to know you. We want to be a part of this. We want to do this. And so we had set our intention before we danced. We set our intention that basically it would be magical, and that because I'm growing a Stay Wild Child tribe locally, that the right people would start, connecting and coming in, and it would expand, right? And it was like instant manifestation. It was like, all these women started coming up to us, and it was just so fantastic what that intention and this magic that we can create in our lives. And when we get out of the way and we let go of control of it, Yeah.
And I was watching that video and I thought, oh my God, how fun. They're having so much fun. Like, it didn't matter. I was staring at the balcony of people in the video, and I thought, right, they're having so much fun watching them, and they're cheering for you guys. And they were like, oh my God, it looked like they were having fun just watching you guys. So when you say, God, and we manifested so quickly, yeah, you did, because you manifested from joy. And it was with ease. It happened with ease. And that is the biggest part. And you can do that in every single day of your life. I want a new job, but you're manifesting it instead of from fear, from joy. You get the new job, right?
Yes.
Joy, you can manifest so much. And that's what Andrea always says. I've manifested several things, like up to, I will tell this story all over, again. But, I had thought to myself, God, it would just be nice. My boss is probably going to watch this and be like, oh, but I was like, God, I really want to do my health insurance, but I don't want to have to pay for it. And I swear to God, and I just like let it go. And 3 minutes later, I had a text from her. Hey, how about we just do, where I take care of it, and that'll be your bonus. And I thought, that works for me. I'm great. 3 minutes. And it's because I
there's no time limit on manifestations.
There's not. Be happy. Be genuinely happy, and it will happen. You just have to, will it, basically. And if it's in your highest and greatest good, it will happen. And if it's not happening, it's not the time.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Timing is a thing, and it is a crazy thing.
It absolutely is. So Lauren, how does Stay Wild Child reach out to you if they'd like to connect with you and have a coaching session, or maybe they feel like they have some spirits that they need to talk to you about that need to take the higher road?
So for right now, I'm going to direct everyone to my Facebook, my personal Facebook, and my
Okay,
personal Instagram.
sure.
Kind of getting away from like creating, that safety net of that low and soul or whatever. I'm getting rid of that. It's not what I want my company name to be anyway. So yeah. So if you just
So
want to reach out,
I'll put your Instagram links and your Facebook links.
perfect. And then they can just message me on there, and I will share my contact information and availability with them based on what we want to do.
It's perfect.
So,
Well, I knew that this would flow as it did. And I knew that, yeah. So it's flowed every time. And I knew that you would be a delight to talk to. And thank you for the ahas that you've given me during this time. I appreciate it. And I know that you definitely shared a message that a lot of people are going to relate to. And I also think that you've given some people some permission to maybe let go of some fears that they might have around some certain things that we talked about as well.
well, I certainly hope so. And I thank you for having this amazing platform for men and women. I think that that's, yes, women for sure, because we have been so conditioned for so long, right? And I think that just you're giving a gift to so many people. And I think that's wonderful.
Thank you, love. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I will. The live will show up in our group for a period of time, and then I'll pop it up on YouTube here in a few days, and you'll have that link as well. So, thanks everybody for joining Conversations with Stay Wild Child, episode 37, and thank you, Lauren, for coming on. You're a
Yes.
gift, love.
Well,
Namaste.
bye.